The countdown to the end of the spring semester is getting shorter by the day, and many students are starting to feel the pressure of final projects and upcoming exams. Coming up, we'll show you several fun and entertaining ways Red Raiders could distract themselves from school.
Learning new languages is a core part of the university experience, and Texas Tech offers nearly a dozen options for students to immerse themselves in other cultures. MCTV's Yeme Akinyeye recently took a short trip off campus to see how some Red Raiders are sharing all they've learned with the residents of the hub city.
Gaming has become a huge part of many students' lives, and it's also become an important topic on the Texas Tech campus. MCTV's Majusta Allen has a detailed look at how Texas Tech is investing in the world of esports to bring in a new generation of students.
And Texas Tech softball and baseball were both busy with the midweek action this week in hopes of building up their resumes as the postseason approaches. But did both teams put up more W's in the win column? MCTV's Logan Lacy has the highlights and scores from all of this week's matchups in sports.
This is the MCTV Weekday Update.
Welcome to the Thursday edition of the MCTV Weekday Update. I'm Duncan Gilbert.
And I'm Pedro Gonzalez. There's just over 2 weeks remaining before the spring semester comes to an end, and campus life is feeling a lot more hectic as students attempt to finish projects and prepare for exams.
But in between schoolwork, several university groups are offering ways for students to have some fun and take some time away from coursework. Last night, the Student Activities Board invited all Red Raiders to make a short trip west on the Marcia Sharp Freeway for a free night at Golf Suites. Attendees showed their student ID and then had access to clubs, balls, and a huge driving range to practice their swing. Students could either work on their golf game or just work on relieving stress by hitting some balls into the fairway. SAB offered free entry to the first 300 students to stop by Golf Suites between 6 and 9 p.m. There was also free food and drinks available, and the golfers could also enjoy live sporting events on the dozens of TVs hung through the complex. If you missed out on a free night at Golf Suites, SAB has offered one more option this week to take your mind off of school. The Student Activities Board is leaving campus again this Saturday to Old McDonald's Petting and Family Fun Farm. The farm is located in South Lubbock, and if transportation is a problem, SAB is offering a free shuttle to the farm on Saturday morning from the sub. The event is scheduled from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m., and as usual, all students can get in with a Tech ID. For more information, check out Texas Tech SAB on Facebook or Instagram.
Back here on campus, students had another free distraction provided by campus organizations, but this time students could put their creativity to the test and head home with a new item for their wardrobe. The Office of Risk Intervention and Safety Education hosted the annual Shades of You, a tie-dye event, Tuesday afternoon in the Red Raider Plaza. Students passing outside the library were encouraged to stop by, grab a white t-shirt, and use a variety of color dyes to make one-of-a-kind clothing creation. Representatives from RISE were available to assist students with the tie-dye process and provide resources to help Red Raiders to learn how to improve their physical and mental well-being. Shades of You is held every year in April in conjunction with Sexual Assault Awareness Month. RISE peer educators provide support for victims and others affected by sexual assault throughout the year. But during April, RISE uses special events like Shades of You to raise awareness to the issue of sexual assault. RISE observance of Sexual Assault Awareness Month continues next week with Pilates in the park. Any student can stop by Urbanoski Park next Wednesday at 6 p.m. to join in a free outdoor session of Pilates led by staff from University Recreations. For more information on RISE and the full calendar of events for April, visit rise.ttu.edu.
Throughout the semester, students at the School of Music hone their skills in class, in practice rooms, or even at home in private. But at least once each fall and spring, hundreds of music majors take the stage to demonstrate what they've learned in public. Throughout the month of April until the last day of classes, the Henley Recital Hall acts as the primary performance space for dozens of musical groups. On Monday, the TTU Balkan Ensemble took over the hall for their spring concert. Students in the ensemble set up on stage on Monday evening and then entertained the audience. Starting at 8 p.m., the group is led by director and professor Roger Landis and features traditional selections from Greece and the Balkan region of Europe. Students perform using Western and Balkan instruments, and the concert also features traditional singing and event dancing. The Balkan Ensemble is part of Texas Tech's Vernacular Music Center. The VMC was established to showcase the diversity from music from around the world, with concerts that often feature dancing and other ways for students to participate beyond standard musical performances. The School of Music's packed calendar of events continues from now until May 4th, including a special collaboration with the School of Theater and Dance for Sweeney Todd over the next 2 weekends. For a full list of all upcoming events, visit music.ttu.edu and click on the events calendar under the News and Events tab.
Foreign language is a core curriculum requirement for all students here at Texas Tech. And here on campus, the Department of Classical Modern Languages and Literatures offer courses in more than 10 languages spoken around the world.
Each of those programs also offer additional experiences for students to practice the language and learn about the culture, both in the classroom and beyond. And as MCTV's Yemi Akinyeye shows us, some students are going a step further by sharing what they've learned with the local community.
Language and culture are the binding force of humanity, and here at the Mahan Public Library, people are given the chance to immerse themselves in the wonders of Arabic culture. Through these doors every Saturday from 2 to 3 p.m., children and adults of all ages are given the opportunity to learn how to speak Arabic. The class covers the very basic fundamentals of the language, the alphabet, colors, phrases, and how to read and write. Hadi Al-Kabi and Nicholas Corey, tech students and tutors, are a huge part of this operation, bridging the Lubbock community together.
They post a flyer, and if people are willing to learn about the language, they'll come to the library, and we in the class will teach them skills we learned in class to the community so they can also learn Arabic, to read and write and speak.
Yeah, exactly. We do that. We do it every weekend.
Many students from Tech take Arabic classes, additionally serving as tutors on Saturdays, spreading the knowledge of Arabic culture. Gavin Rodriguez, Tech student and criminology major, knows the benefits of speaking the language.
Being able to speak multiple languages is very important for jobs wise, or just like in life. If you want to travel somewhere or whatever, you can get directions easier, be able to ask questions easier. I think it's a very great skill to have.
The U.S. State Department identifies Arabic as a critical language of strategic importance. Through learning Arabic, students have a lot to put on their resume. Additionally, they even know a few unique phrases.
My favorite Arabic word is shukran, means thank you. Because, always got to be thankful.
Clock it.
My favorite word is yalla, which means let's go.
There are only 2 more Saturdays left to learn Arabic culture. To learn more, visit the Mahan Library's public Facebook page. For MCTV, I'm Yemi Akinyeye.
Dry weather has returned to most of the South Plains this week after much needed rain fell across the area last weekend.
But rain isn't the only form of weather to make its way back to the hub city. Windy conditions are also back in the forecast, but wind is the only concern now through the weekend. Chief Weather Specialist Elisabeth Herring joining us in the studio with details on what's ahead in today's forecast. Elizabeth?
Yeah, a pretty quiet week weather-wise this week. We do have some wind coming up this weekend. You can see the trees moving just a little bit out there, just a precursor to what we'll see the next couple of days. We do have a red flag warning due to those gusty winds in most of the South Plains, mostly in those western counties. And as we head into the rest of today, winds are going to begin to pick up in the mid-20s, so breezy to gusty winds around dinner time, and then it's going to remain steady overnight, and then tomorrow afternoon, right around lunchtime, is when those winds really begin to pick up with gusts in the upper 20s, lower 30s, picking up even more as we head into the evening. Early morning hours of Saturday, gusts in the upper 30s and even lower 40s in some areas. And then tapering off as we head into Saturday, hopefully leaving us with just a slightly breezy Saturday so we get a breather from that wind. Lows tonight quite mild in the 50s and upper 60s across the South Plains area. Tomorrow, bottom line is it's going to be hot and windy. Highs in the upper 80s, lower 90s, even mid 90s in those eastern counties and off the Cap Rock. As we head into tonight, lows here locally in Lubbock, 64 degrees. Tomorrow, right at 90 degrees with winds around 22 miles averaging. And just remember that probably going to see lots of dust being kicked up tomorrow. So just keep that in mind as you're planning your Friday. Looking at our weekend, Saturday, Temperatures lowering off quite a bit, high of 66, and that wind is also bringing in a cool front, so that's why the temperatures so much cooler. Sunday, highs in the lower 70s, looking like a pretty nice weekend after that wind dies down. Lows quite chilly in the 30s, and this is the first time we've seen 30s in quite a while. Not quite freezing, but a chilly evening as we head into Sunday. Monday, high of 65, so back in those 60s, so don't put away the sweater just yet as we head into next week. And then Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, back in those mid to upper 80s. Lows next week in the 50s and lower 60s. Monday, we do have a chance for showers in the early a.m., so just keep updated with the forecast as you may need an umbrella or rain jacket on your way to classes. I'm Elizabeth, and it's back to y'all.
Thanks, Elizabeth. Last weekend, Texas Tech showed off its competitive side as the TTU cheer team brought home not one, but 2 national championships. And just like that, Tech cheer and TTU athletics has been making national headlines all year, but there's another group of competitors here on campus that may not get as much publicity, but that's starting to change in some big ways. MCTV's Majesta Allen has the story.
Texas Tech is leveling up in a big way. This time not on a football field, but in the world of competitive gaming. The program, housed in the College of Media and Communication, is designed to go beyond just playing video games. Instead, it focuses on the growing esports industry, training students in areas like production, event management, marketing, and streaming. Megan Condis, Director of Esports Events and Outreach, says the goal is to meet the rising demand for jobs in a rapidly expanding field.
In the video game industry in general, but also in the esports industry, you're kind of expected to jump in and be willing to learn a lot of different skills and wear a lot of different hats. And so the fact that our students will get to move around the university, go into different colleges, go to different departments, and get that varied amount of experience, I think will set our students apart.
Alongside the new minor, Texas Tech esports continues to grow through student-led tournaments and events. For some students, esports isn't just a hobby. It's both a competitive outlet and hands-on experience in running large-scale productions.
The amount of setup time that goes into it, finding sponsors, there's so much more to it than it looks on paper, because all you see is this event where you have everything perfect at the time, where you have these camera angles that actually look proper and stuff like that. Well, how did you get these camera angles? How did you get the teams here? How did you get the funds to run this event? Stuff like that. How did you get sponsors that are on the broadcast? Everything like that that goes into it takes a ton of time and a ton of work and effort into it that just is kind of overlooked in a lot of ways.
Brian Rose says esports has created a sense of community on campus, especially for those who may not participate in traditional athletics. And with the addition of the new minor, those opportunities are only expected to expand.
I see it as being one of the potential biggest schools in esports in the next 3 to 4 years. Having a program where we have players that are some of the best in the world competing at the level of college to win national championships, and then we have this community side with an arena to get people into it and bring a whole group, host on-campus events and stuff like that in the future. And I think that's the biggest thing that Texas Tech wants as well, is just to bring all these students out of their dorms that just play video games now, because it's a super popular thing, and get them interacting with each other. And that's the biggest thing I want too, is the competitive side's one thing, but it's actually bringing Texas Tech students together, I think, is the biggest thing that I'd love to see Texas Tech esports have.
The esports minor is expected to roll out soon, with courses aimed at preparing students for careers in one of the fastest growing industries in the world. For MCTV, I'm Majesta Allen.
From esports to athletics, Texas Tech is making its mark in the competitive world, and 2 Texas Tech teams just completed trips both here in Texas and around the country to show off some talented Red Raiders.
MCTV's Logan Lacy has highlights from both Texas Tech baseball and softball's midweek scheduling and more in sports. Logan?
Thank you, Pedro and Duncan. Texas Tech Athletics has had a busy week with softball and baseball playing some non-conference opponents, men's golf going to their last invitational of the regular season, and women's tennis starting Big 12 tournament play. Let's start with softball. Red Raider softball played in 3 midweek matchups, starting Monday in Logan, Utah to play the Utah State Aggies. Jasmine Burns started the scoring early with a 2-run home run in the second inning, with Lauren Allred extending the Texas Tech lead in the 4th and 5th innings with RBI singles. But the bottom of the 5th was all Aggies, as pitchers Samantha Lincoln and Chloe Riaceto allowed 7 runs. Texas Tech did not stay down for long though, as Lauren Allred, Jasmine Burns, and Caitlin Terry all homered in the top of the 6th, scoring 11 runs and securing a 17-7 run rule victory for the Red Raiders. Tech softball then made the trip back to Texas for a Tuesday night matchup against the UTSA Roadrunners. The Red Raiders picked up right where they left off, winning 10-0, led by homers from Jasmine Burns and Maya Davis, and a shutout pitching performance from Caitlin Terry going all 5 innings, only allowing 1 hit. The Red Raiders then traveled to San Marcos to face the Texas State Bobcats. This one was a pitching battle that the Bobcats will never forget, with Maddie Azua holding the Red Raiders to 5 hits and no runs. Najee Kennedy also played well, but allowed the only 3 runs of the game as Texas State would upset the Red Raiders, giving them their 4th loss of the season. Texas Tech softball will take the weekend off before going to El Paso to play a Wednesday doubleheader versus UTEP. The first game is set to start at 5 p.m. and the second game starting 30 minutes after the first game ends, with both games streaming live on ESPN+. Red Raider baseball was supposed to play 2 games this week, but the Tuesday night game against Abilene Christian was postponed. Texas Tech still got to host the Incarnate Word Cardinals last night in a high-scoring battle. The Red Raiders scored first from a Logan Hughes sac fly, a Kyler Thompson 2 RBI double, and Tracer Lopez hitting an RBI single. The Cardinals then hit 4 home runs and took a lead too big for Texas Tech to try and get back from, defeating the Red Raiders 13-8. Texas Tech baseball will now go to Salt Lake City for a Big 12 series with the Utah Utes. Friday's game will begin at 7 p.m., Saturday's start time is set for 3 p.m., and first pitch for Sunday will be at 2 p.m., with all games live on ESPN+. Texas Tech men's golf ended their regular season on Wednesday while continuing to perform at a high level. The Red Raiders finished tied for second at the Mountaineer Invitational and have now finished in first or second 4 times in the last 5 events. The golf team has also climbed in the clipped scoreboard rankings from 8th to 6th, while Connor Graham is ranked as the number 15 golfer in the country. The Red Raider golf team will now begin to prepare for the Big 12 Championship in Hutchinson, Kansas from April 27th to the 29th. Texas Tech women's tennis began their Big 12 tournament run yesterday in Orlando, Florida versus the University of Houston. The Lady Raiders beat the Cougars 4-1 after sweeping in doubles and only losing 1 singles match. Texas Tech women's tennis will now turn their attention towards the Arizona State Sun Devils as they play today in the quarterfinals. That's all for Texas Tech athletics. Now back to Pedro and Duncan.
Thanks, Logan. 1 week from tomorrow, the Texas Tech campus will be overrun by thousands of country music fans for 2 of the biggest concerts to hit the hub city in years.
The first of 2 performances by country legend George Strait is scheduled for next Friday night, and that means getting around campus may be a bit more difficult from Friday afternoon until late Saturday night. Last week, the Texas Tech community received a memo to alert faculty, staff, and students to an expected increase in traffic around campus on Friday afternoon. At 2:30 p.m., parking lots all around campus will be open to visitors who purchased a parking permit for the Friday night concert. Everything from satellite parking to commuter and staff and residential lots will be available to the general public. Visitors are expected to start making their way to campus as early as 2:30, with traffic increasing after the gates to Jones AT&T Stadium open at 4:15. The official start time for Friday's concert is 5:45 p.m., but with 60,000 plus fans expected for both Saturday and Sunday show, many concert goers will do what they can to find the best parking space available. According to the memo, Texas Tech is not adjusting the academic schedule for next Friday, so you can still plan on attending classes. However, most extracurricular events and activities on campus have been canceled for next week, especially at night. So, you're not going to the concert, you might want to double check on any other regular Friday evening on-campus events before next week. For much more information about next week's concerts, visit straight to texastech.com.
So, Duncan, are you going to either of next week's George Strait's concerts?
Hopefully on Friday night it'll be a given to where I'll be LIVN outside of the concert.
Well, we're all here for a good time, not a long time. And that's all for today's edition of the MCTV Weekday Update.
Thanks so much for joining us, and be sure to check ttuhub.net every day for more news. We'll see you next week.